What if that heavenly ladder from the Bible didn't lead up, but down? Welcome to Jacob's Ladder, 1990, where PTSD throws a rave, your chiropractor might be an angel, and hell looks suspiciously like New York City. The plot. We open with the screaming whir of helicopters over the Mekong Delta in 1971. Jacob Singer, played by a haunted-looking Tim Robbins, is chilling with his unit in Vietnam when all hell breaks loose. It's chaos. Jacob watches the madness unfold like he's stuck in a walking nightmare, and then gets stabbed for his troubles. Years later, Jacob wakes up alone in a grimy New York City subway, clutching a book like he just passed out during a Dostoevsky bender. He's confused, disoriented, and probably reeking of existential dread. He tries to ask an old lady if they passed Bergen Street, but she just stares, blankly. Not a great sign when your only subway guide is a mute grandma next to a sleeping hobo. Oh, and did Jacob just see a tail under the man's coat? Because, sure, why not? He finally gets off the train, but the doors are chained shut, like the set of a forgotten Saw sequel. He's forced to cross the tracks and wade through filthy water while the lights flicker and a train barrels past, with faceless figures inside. One even waves at him. Friendly or demonic, hard to tell. Jacob stumbles home through a neighborhood so bleak Prozac might as well sponsor it. His girlfriend, Jezzy, Elizabeth Pena, is relieved to see him, but not so relieved that she doesn't immediately join him in the shower. Nothing says love like steam and possible psychosis. Smash cut back to Nam again, where Jacob's crawling through the jungle like he's in a fever dream. Next morning, Jacob and Jezzy flip through old photographs like a doomed couple in a Lifetime movie. There's his ex-wife Sarah, and more heartbreakingly his deceased son Gabe, played by baby Macaulay Culkin, who's tragically not home alone here. Jacob breaks down. Jezzy, showing all the emotional sensitivity of a paper shredder, decides these pictures are too sad and starts burning them. Except for the one of Gabe. Jacob clutches that one like it's his last grip on sanity. Later, Jacob's in better spirits, delivering mail and singing like it's therapy. He gets a massage from Louie, Danny Aiello, looking like the most Jewish angel ever, who loosens Jacob's spine and maybe his soul. Jacob feels so good he swears Louie might actually have wings. But good vibes don't last long in this movie. As Jacob walks down the street, a group of girls serenade him with, "Hey, Mr. Postman," seconds before a car nearly flattens him. Inside, more faceless figures. These things are stalking him like credit card debt. Desperate for answers, Jacob visits Dr. Carlson's office, only to be told Carlson never existed. Like, ever. The nurse even suggests he see a psychiatrist, which is horror movie speak for "you're definitely screwed." When Jacob slams the counter in frustration, he sees something truly grotesque. A writhing, dead, possibly demonic creature chilling on the nurse's head like it's just another Tuesday. He runs, as one does, only to learn that Dr. Carlson did exist, until he mysteriously died in a car explosion last month. You know, just casually combusted. Totally normal doctor stuff. Back in reality, or whatever this is, Jezzy touches Jacob's back and tells him he's overreacting. Which, okay, he is sweating bullets and having vivid visions of demon-tailed subway hobos, but sure, let's gaslight the poor man. So Jacob does what any traumatized vet clearly should do: go clubbing. To a disco-drenched house party where people are grinding to Lady Marmalade like it's Satan's Spotify playlist. A woman reads Jacob's palm and casually drops the most terrifying icebreaker ever: "You're already dead." Neat. He dances with Jezzy, but something feels off. He sees a man staring at him, birds flapping around inside the room. Indoors, really? And the mysterious man's face starts warping into a blur of flesh-colored static. That's when things get real David Cronenberg. The partygoer strips down, and out comes a lizard tail. Yep, a tail. And not a sexy cosplay one. This thing kills her. Jacob collapses, overwhelmed by the body horror rave. Jezzy is not impressed. At home, she scolds him like he just barfed on her shoes at prom. But Jacob's burning up with a fever, so she shifts gears and calls a doctor. Her fix? The classic horror movie remedy, ice bath of doom. She even ropes in the neighbors, like this is some twisted Tupperware party. Mrs. Carmichael shows up with ice like she's bringing a casserole to a demon exorcism. They dunk him in freezing water, and Jacob screams in pure agony. It's like a baptism, but instead of salvation, he gets trauma flashbacks. Suddenly, he's in bed, but now he thinks he's back with his ex-wife Sarah, and their son Gabe comes in complaining about the cold. They have a sweet father-son chat, a sliver of normalcy, like a dying flashlight flickering in the dark. Then, boom, he wakes up again, dazed, with Jesse and a dog staring at him like, "You good, bro?" His eyes turn red. The visions return. He flips through a book on torture and hell, as one does, and Jesse's casual "anybody home" triggers a full-on demon alert in Jacob's head. He shoves her away like she just turned into Pazuzu. Jesse storms out, yelling, "I wish you were dead," a line that hits harder than she knows. The phone rings. It's Paul Flanagan, Pruitt Taylor Vince, and he sounds like he's auditioning for a conspiracy doc. At the bar, Paul is fidgety and paranoid, and not in the "I smoke too much weed" way. He thinks something is following him, and he and Jacob start piecing together the fractured memories of that cursed day in Vietnam. They don't know what happened, just that it was wrong. Suddenly, Paul starts his car, and it explodes. Explodes, like Michael Bay's PTSD special. The man who'd been staring at them tries to help Jacob, then disappears before Jacob can even ask, "Wait, was that your tail on the subway?" As the shock settles, Jacob briefly flashes back to Nam, remembering their pilot being shot and blood splashing like a Tarantino scene. We cut to Paul's funeral, a rainy, somber affair with umbrellas and heavy stairs. Frank and George, two fellow soldiers, are visibly shaken. Deep in paranoia mode, Jacob insists this isn't a coincidence, it's a cover-up. So he rounds up the surviving war buddies to meet with a lawyer, played by a pre-Costanza Jason Alexander, looking like he was pulled out of an unpaid Waffle House commercial. The lawyer tells them suing the military is gonna be expensive as hell, then continues stuffing his face like the truth's buried in a sandwich. But someone's watching them leave. Always someone watching. Later, Jesse delivers more bad news. The lawyer dropped the case. Jacob's friends all bailed. Why? Frank says they were threatened. Classic shadowy government move, but Jacob won't drop it. He pleads with the lawyer, who reveals a final gut punch. Jacob and his friends were excluded from military records due to psychological issues. Translation: they were ghosts long before the movie started. Just when you think things can't get worse, Jacob gets straight up kidnapped by Men in Black rejects. These official-looking creeps shove him into a car, but plot twist: a random lady with a baby stroller totally sees this. She's the unsung hero of the movie because when Jacob pulls a GTA and clocks one of his captors to jump out of the car, she's the only witness to his attempted abduction. Oh, and to really hammer in the absurdity, he's met outside by a man dressed as Santa Claus. Because yes, in this psychological hellscape, even Santa mugs you. The guy's panhandling one second, pickpocketing the next. He steals Jacob's wallet like it's the North Pole's rent money. Next thing you know, Jacob's in a hospital. A kind-ish cop found him and brought him in, and the nurse says they'll do everything they can. The doctor on call looks suspiciously entertained, like he's got front row seats to Jacob's unraveling sanity. That's when things go full Silent Hill. Jacob starts hallucinating. Again, he sees a mangled bicycle, grotesque patients twitching like broken marionettes, and walks through a meat locker full of human parts. This place is less healing center and more Hell's butcher shop. A faceless man convulses nearby. We're deep in Cronenberg territory, folks. Then things escalate. An evil-looking surgeon who basically screams, "I got my medical degree from the Ninth Circle of Hell," tells Jacob he's dead.
He's hurt my back. I'm not dead.
What are you then?
I'm alive.
Then what are you doing here? You've been killed. Don't you remember?
Just flat out drops it like it's a casual diagnosis. And oh look, Jesse's here too, except now she's a nurse, and not the helpful kind. More like Nurse Ratchet's demon twin. Before Jacob can scream second opinion, an eyeless doctor jams a needle in his forehead and starts poking around in his brain. Still think that fever was just the flu, Jesse? But then, plot twist within a plot twist, Jacob is suddenly visited by Sarah and their son. He's bandaged like a mummy and insists, "I'm alive." A creepy voice whispers, "Dream on," which is never what you want to hear in a hospital.
I'm not dead.
What?
I'm alive.
Dream on.
His real-life angel Louis shows up and wheels him out of this hospital-hell hybrid. None of the staff can stop them because apparently Louis operates on holy immunity. He gives Jacob a brutal massage, and Jacob confesses, "I was in hell." Louis cracks his spine like it's a haunted glow stick and assures him he's better now. Back home, Jacob flips through his discharge papers and finds a drawing from his late son Gabe. It's innocent, just a boy playing with baseball cards in the street. But then Jacob remembers the real story. Gabe bent down to pick up a card, and a car didn't see him. The grief comes crashing in like that train from earlier. Jacob thinks he sees Gabe again, only to be met with another blurry, faceless figure. His head is pounding, his past is attacking him, and his trauma is in 4K. Jessie bursts in with groceries like she's been panic shopping for 2 days. She's frantic. Jacob's been missing. No hospital has seen him. And when his phone rings, Jacob gets all, "Don't answer that," like it's a call from hell's customer service. But Jessie answers it anyway. What she hears scares the hell out of her. A question about the experiment. She begs Jacob not to leave. He hugs her, says sorry, and walks out the door, because this man refuses to learn what a red flag is. Then he meets Michael Newman, who's been tailing him like a discount Jason Bourne. Turns out, Michael's not crazy. He used to work for the Army's Chemical Warfare Division. And now comes the twist, within the existential crisis. Michael reveals the truth. Jacob's unit was part of a secret experiment. The Army created a drug called the Ladder, designed to unlock soldiers' most primal instincts by cranking their aggression to 11. Think PCP, but with government funding. They tested it on monkeys, then enemy POWs, and finally, without their knowledge, on Jacob's unit. And what happened? They tore each other apart. Literally, Jacob wasn't wounded by the enemy. He was stabbed by one of his own. Jacob is shell-shocked. No demons, no ghosts, just a bunch of drugged-up kids turned into monsters by Uncle Sam. He stumbles into a cab and gives the driver all his money, begging to go home. The driver asks, "Where's home?" And suddenly Jacob remembers that moment in the jungle. His friend, drugged and mindless, stabbing him, his body breaking, his mind shattering. That's when it all started. Jacob, shattered in body and soul, arrives at what looks like a familiar apartment building. The doorman greets him like an old friend, calls him Dr. Singer, a name that he hasn't heard in what feels like lifetimes. They shake hands like comrades on opposite sides of a long war. Inside the apartment is dark, silent. Jacob sits alone, drowning in his memories. No demons, no distorted faces, just silence and sorrow. He remembers Gabe, the son he lost, the innocence that was stolen. And then he sees him. Gabe, impossibly alive, bathed in warm light like a ghost sent by forgiveness itself. The two embrace, not as father and son, but as two souls finally at peace. Gabe takes Jacob's hand and leads him up the stairs, up into the light. It's quiet. It's beautiful. It's the first moment in the film that feels safe. Cut to Vietnam. Back in that blood-soaked jungle, Newman, our chemist-turned-whistleblower, is standing beside Jacob's lifeless body. "He's gone," he says flatly. Another medic helps him leave the body behind. Just another casualty. Just another secret. Then the gut punch text. It was reported that the hallucinogenic drug BZ was used in experiments on soldiers during the Vietnam War. The Pentagon denied the story. Of course they did. The credits roll over haunting photographs of Jacob and Gabe walking away together, hand in hand. Two shadows retreating from the nightmare, finally free. Horrorcraft. I usually get twitchy around movies drenched in hallucinations and dream logic because 9 times out of 10 it's just lazy writing with a fog machine. But Jacob's Ladder? This thing grabs your psyche with cold, clammy fingers and drags it through Despair Alley. The film doesn't ask you to follow a story, it wants you to feel a state of mind, like The Trial by Orson Welles, or Altered States on a government budget. It's a descent into psychological hell, and you're strapped in with no seatbelt. Director Adrienne Lin takes Bruce Joel Rubin's metaphysical script and dials it into something brutally grounded. Sure, Rubin originally had demons and heaven and hell swirling in the margins, but Lynn slams it all into the gritty, greasy realism of 1970s New York, which, let's be honest, already feels like purgatory on a good day. The horror here isn't about slashers or jump scares. It's the slow, suffocating realization that maybe the world around you is hell. And worse, maybe you belong there. Cinematography and sound design. This movie looks like it was shot through a nicotine-stained nightmare. Director Adrian Lyne wraps the whole thing in this sickly, grimy haze. Every frame feels like you're watching through a fever, the kind of film where even the daylight looks haunted. The camera work? Paranoid, claustrophobic. We're talking handheld angles that tilt just enough to make your stomach flip, and wide shots that suddenly cut to twitchy close-ups like a panic attack with film school credentials. And those demon effects? Forget CGI. We're talking practical, stuttery, frame-blurred demons with vibrating heads that would give Silent Hill a nervous breakdown. This is the movie that invented the horror headshake. If you've ever seen a demon jitter like it's buffering, think Jacob's Ladder. Sound design? A masterclass in dread. Screeching metal, subway howls, whispery voices that seem to echo from your own bad decisions. It's like Hell's ASMR playlist. Even the silence has weight. The audio alone could give you a psychotic break. Coming out of the film and getting into a conversation about the underlying reality of the film. Was it all a flashback or a flash forward? What was real and what was only in the hero's mind? Are even the apparently real sequences the product of his imagination? Making a chart of the real and the imagined is not the point of Jacob's Ladder anyway. This movie is the portrait of a mental state, as Orson Welles' The Trial and Ken Russell's Altered States were. The screenplay is by Bruce Joel Rubin, who also wrote the completely different Ghost. Acting. The key performances in the film are by Robbins and Elizabeth Pena, who plays the woman he lives with. It's difficult to evaluate their work because the movie sets them the task of behaving in an utterly realistic, slice-of-life manner in many scenes, even some of which are later revealed as hallucinations, and then coasting away into fearsome fantasy in other scenes. Pena achieves the difficult task here of creating a believable and even sympathetic woman while at the same time suggesting dimensions that the hero can only guess at. Most films tell stories. Jacob's Ladder undoubtedly contains a story, which can be extracted with a certain amount of thought. Since the ending can be read in two different ways, however, the extraction process would result in two different stories. That isn't the point. What Jacob's Ladder really wants to do is to evoke the feeling of a psychological state in the audience. We are intended to feel what the hero feels. Fear factor score. For a fear factor score on Jacob's Ladder, I give it a 5 out of 10. The discomfort of what Jacob feels throughout the movie outweighs any fear. The idea that he's in a hell-like dystopia doesn't instill fear the same way when you see a ghost or monster, but more of a discomfort that we've all felt at some point in our lives. The movie overall was an incredibly well-directed movie, one of a kind, and definitely a classic. A lesser film would have ended with some dumb denouement in a courtroom, or some shootout with government security guys. This is a film about no less than life and death, and Jacob seems to stand at the midpoint of a ladder that reaches in two directions. Up to heaven, like the ladder that God put down for the biblical Jacob in Genesis, or down to hell in drug-induced hallucinations. This movie was not a pleasant experience, but it was exhilarating in the sense that we're able to observe filmmakers working at the edge of their abilities and inspirations. Not every movie has to be fun. Till next time, be sure to like, comment with what we should review next, and definitely subscribe.